program is brought to you by FanDuel, where we give sports fans the chance to win every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this Friday post-game edition of Propels Talk. The New Orleans Pelicans dropped their second straight game, falling 115 to 108 to the Phoenix Suns on the first night of a back-to-back against the Suns at home. A lot to talk about in this game. I think the first thing, just lead off, and of course, I'm David Grubb. Sorry. If you don't know, I'm David Grubb, host of The Post Up here on Boot Crew Media. We'll see if any of the other folks hop in tonight, but could be just me tonight, but me and y'all, so we'll get the questions. All right. But let's start with this. I think the first thing tonight was Pelicans didn't have any energy. This was a game where they came out and just did not have much spark to start this game. It just looked like they were, and Casey Hill said this during the halftime, was that they kind of looked like they had just woken up. You had a couple of days off, obviously, for Christmas, and you come back to this game after you had some travel back from Cleveland, and you had an opportunity to kind of get off on a good foot here. 3 games in 4 nights at home against a team that you've kind of developed a budding little bit of rivalry. Hasn't mattered who's on the other side for the Suns. You've had these kind of battles back and forth, and it was a lot of the little things that came back and bit the Pelicans tonight. The first was their effort and intensity, but then again down the stretch, the Pelicans could not do what they needed to do to win this game. And I think a lot of the mistakes, and there were multiple mistakes, but here was a big problem, was down the stretch, they didn't know what to do with the basketball. In those last 5 minutes tonight, Jordan Poole made some bad decisions, driving with the basketball, turning it over, took some very bad shots. Zion Williamson didn't get enough shots, I would think, down the stretch to create for other folks. And you just didn't see the movement that we've come to appreciate from the Pelicans over the last 2 months or so, almost since James Borrego took over. And a big part of this is we're going to have to discuss, again, when we talk about this team, what are your short-term goals and what are your long-term goals? Okay? Now, tonight, your 2 rookies combined for 35 minutes on the court. Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears. You throw Micah Peavy into that, you had 38 minutes total. 38 minutes total for those guys. And this is the dilemma here, right? Because the Pelicans are within reach of that 10th spot in the Western Conference. It's a reasonable suggestion at this point to say the Pelicans could still be in pursuit of the 10th spot. The pace that the 10th team currently, Portland, is on is a 33-win pace. The Pelicans, as a team, are predicted to win 31 games this season, 31, 32 games this season. So you're in pursuit of this 10th spot, reasonably so. But what are you going to do to get to that point? Do you think that the Pelicans at this point should be trying to bring in talent in order to chase a playoff spot? Or do you use what you have currently, move some of the players that are not part of your long-term future, and see if you can still get into that 10th spot by relying on the guys who have been the spark by and large through this? And I think that's the question, because James Borrego tonight did not allow the rookies to get more minutes because he was chasing a win tonight. He's chasing a win. So when you're doing that, when you're going for these wins, that means your minutes are going to be based on who do you think is going to give you the best opportunity to win those games. When the goal this season has changed from you're trying to be a playoff contender to you're trying to have the best season possible. The problem here is you have players who have different motivations. Your rookies are going to be your rookies. It's clear that Jeremiah Fears has hit a wall, as rookies do. You go from playing 30 games a year to playing 82 to starting after game 2 of your career. There's going to be a point where you hit the wall. And Jeremiah Fears is at that point. He's not making shots. Okay. Then on top of that, Derek Queen had an off night tonight as well. Didn't play particularly aggressively. Didn't play particularly well defensively. And that for this team, you can't be bad individually defensively for a team that's not going to be great collectively. And the Pelicans are a team that has to play in the 120s to win games. A game like this where they're barely getting to 108 is not in their favor. And the things they couldn't do tonight, points off of turnovers, only scoring 14 points off of 18 turnovers. That's unacceptable. That can't happen, and that's been a problem all year. The inability to make threes continues to be a problem. Even with this team being one of the highest scoring teams in the league over the last 10 games or so, they're still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. They didn't make their free throws tonight. They didn't get a lot of finishes at the layup at the rim tonight. And they got beat up. Second chance points, not recognizing who's on the floor. It looked a lot like the old Pelicans tonight. It looked a lot like the old Pelicans, not the team that you've watched over the last 10 games. And I think what you're seeing is you have players who have different motivations at this stage. You have guys who are at a certain point in their careers, and they want to, they're at the stage where they're ready to win, or at least get to that stage where they're trying to make money on a higher level. And so a guy like Jordan Poole, and my thing is this: whether you like Jordan Poole or not, whether you like him or not, and I'm not going to argue with either side because there's a case to be made, right? Whether you like Jordan Poole or not, his value to the Pelicans doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Not if you're going to correct the problems long term. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for this team and you're saying this year, even if everything goes right, if you can win 25 to 27 more games and put yourself in position to get to that 10 seed, if you can do that, is it worth keeping players who are not part of your long-term future and who could ultimately keep you from reaching whatever ceiling you may have around? And there's no way, even if Jordan Poole were giving you 20 points a night, even if he were giving you 20 points a night at $30+ million, the value isn't there. The value isn't there. So when you look at these guys, you have to look at both their on-court value and their financial value for the long term of the Pelicans. And the same problems that you've been having. You don't have a strong defensive backcourt. Teams have been able to keep Trey Murphy from shooting three-pointers for the past 4 or 5 games. So you're not getting volume from him. Jordan Poole, since the start of November, is shooting 22% from three-point range. He hasn't made more than 3 threes in a game since October. Your backcourt, Jeremiah Fears hasn't been able to score in about 10 games. His shooting has been atrocious lately. So when you look at that, you say, what do you need in the backcourt You need a legitimate 3-and-D player. Bryce McGowan's giving some of those things, but not ready on a night-to-night basis to be that kind of guy. So you need a legitimate 3-and-D guy opposite Jeremiah Fears to allow Fears to be a guy who plays downhill so he can get to the basket and then be able to kick out and get those shots. For Queen, it can't just be you're active when the ball is in your hands. And tonight, that was one of the things. Is when the ball wasn't in his hands, he still has to do things. He has to be a screener still. He has to be a guy who moves as well. He can't wait for the basketball to find him to be able to do something. That's the next level for him. For the criticism of Zion Williamson, and we're seeing this over and over again, everybody's talking about this tonight. Zion doesn't go get the ball. Yeah, you got to be greedy. And this is part of the problem when you look at this team long term, is there is no number one yet. There is no number one. Queen is not the number one guy. Fears is not the number one guy. He could develop into that. You hope that he will. Zion is content at times to fit in and not demand the basketball, even though, yes, he had the most efficient game tonight, but he's still not acting as if. So when you're having these kinds of problems consistently, when you have to play perfectly, the biggest problems this team have not changed ultimately, right? They're not a good defensive team. They're not a good rebounding team. They're not a good interior defensive team when it comes to blocking shots and protecting the rim. And they're not a good team when it comes to making the three. And they're not a good team when it comes to having backcourt defensive pressure. So if all of those things are true, and they've been true for 6 seasons, that you've asked certain guys to step up and become the number one player, and all you've been able to find is that most of these guys are just really strong number twos. And then the problem for Zion is financially, again, his best value to you now maybe is somebody off your roster. Because what is the goal? What is the goal? If you're not going to win, if you're going to start him, then you're saying again, you're the future. You're telling him again, and you're telling Pelicans fans he's the future. I'm not answering this question. I'm asking it to y'all about Zion Williamson only. If you put him in the starting lineup and you tell him he's the guy again, and you do those things, what are you doing long term for this team? Are you saying that he is the guy? And if you're saying that again, this is not where we're arguing, is that we're not arguing about talent. That's not what we're discussing here. We're not talking about talent. We're talking about what do you want for this franchise? And this is not about this one game, whether or not he could have scored 30 tonight, whether or not he's the most talented. Those questions we know the answer to. He could have scored 30 tonight, sure. Is he the most talented player on this team? Sure. We know that. We knew that already. The question is, what are you doing long term for the future of this franchise? Are you assuming that if you give Zion the mantle again, that you say everything's good, you're ready to, we want you to lead us again? Where is he leading you to? Where is he leading you to? If you get back to the playoffs this season, get to the the play-in, excuse me. Get to the play-in, and you're a 10th seed. Can you do this again next season and start this all over again? The reason you would cut him is the financial savings. The contract isn't guaranteed. Now, there are potential options. There are potential options. Okay. But those require other teams to start getting desperate. because no one's going to make a deal for Zion Williamson at this point unless they're desperate. Okay, because teams are not going to give up assets unless they think that they have an opportunity to win immediately. No one's going to extend him to reduce the salary because the salary is non-guaranteed. The whole attractive nature of the contract is that it is non-guaranteed, which is also why teams will not give up a bunch. The Pelicans have already told Zion to go out and look for deals. Okay, teams have not been calling. The whole point, the reason the Pelicans put this in the contract, in the deal, the reason David Griffin put this in was to get out of this financially. People say it doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? It's because that's the whole point, was to be able to get out of the responsibility that you had financially to a player who you could not count on. So that's where you are. So if you keep Zion, you are saying that you're committed to him through the remainder of this deal, because you continue to diminish his trade value the longer you keep him. But his trade value is also so low because why would teams give up an asset for somebody who they may not be able to use because of his injury history? So you don't have leverage with other teams unless they get desperate. And who would get desperate enough to make that move? There's not a team in the West, I don't think, that gets desperate enough to make that move. Because I think in the West, the teams feel like there's a clear separation at the top. Okay, at the top, there's a clear separation. You're not getting into that quartet of Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, and what are we talking about? In that group. So if you're talking about what teams in the East could be interested, you keep hearing about Miami, right? You keep talking about Miami. The other team that you could potentially see a deal with that I think could be that position is Detroit. Detroit. And this is why I say Detroit. If you take Detroit, you can get Tobias Harris. You can either get back, let's say you take back Tobias Harris and Jaden Ivey. If that's the deal, you're not getting a pick back, but you're getting two players on expiring deals who could help you this season still make a run. The plan, right? Absolutely, they could. Tobias Harris and Jaden Ivey can help you make a run. The other part in Detroit is if you made a deal, you're keeping Ivey for the fact that his contract is expiring. Jeez. It's not about the quality of the player. It's about Tobias Harris could be a quality part. But again, both of these are expiring deals. The other deal would be is if you get Tobias Harris and you combine him with another player and you can get a pick down the road. Those are possible with Detroit. Again, the rest of the East, why would they make a desperation deal to bring in Zion? Because you don't need to. The rest of the East is all together, bunched up in one big pile. Orlando's not going to make another deal. They already made a giant deal. They're not going to go all in again. The Knicks don't have enough to make a giant deal. And Zion Williamson would not be the guy that the Knicks would trade for. That's not what they're missing. You know what I'm saying? So when you start looking at these teams, Miami would be it because Miami's known to try to take a risk on name players at distressed prices. And if you go with Miami, then what are you taking? If you go to Miami, you're taking back the expiring contract of Terry Rozier. You're trying to get Kel'el Ware, and you're trying to get some picks. Okay, so the silly stuff. Convince him all before the season. I said this was about Zion. All before the season, I said Zion deserved the opportunity. For years, I've been saying that Zion that Zion was the franchise, that he was the best player, and that, if you're going to try to win long term, you have to have a player who's going to win games in the postseason. I think that if you can get something quality back from a team like the Pistons, I think you could take that opportunity. For tonight, when you look at this game in particular, and what does it mean? I think the things you saw here were that the rookies have reached a wall in that regard. And I think then you look at Jordan Poole, who got 30 minutes tonight. And Jeremiah Fears was a minus 12 in his 18 minutes. But Jordan Poole's decision making down the stretch was just ridiculous. To take that 27-foot three that he took behind the line early in the shot clock that banged off the side of the backboard, that was a bad decision. He drove into the basket a couple times and threw awkward passes, bad decisions. Played turnstile defense, bad decisions. Again, the defense on Trey and his inability at times over the last 3 games to free himself up for shots is something that they have to figure out. They've got to get better at that. Saddiq Bey, for the last 2 games, has not been himself. The Saddiq Bey that we've come to recognize. He's been a lot more difficult the last couple of games for him to get going. So the Pelicans have to find their legs, right? The Pelicans have to find their legs again. And these last 2 games, that's what they have been sitting. And this is what I talked about earlier. I want to go back to this. What are the goals? What are the goals in games like this? And you'll come back tomorrow. And yes, you're always trying to win. You're never trying not to win games. But it's how you're trying to win them. Are you trying to win them and develop your rookies at the same time and give them these opportunities? Because, this was a night where you kind of want Jeremiah Fears on the court in those final 5 minutes to learn. But also, I think there's absolutely value in what James Borrego has done, I think, overall with the roster in giving guys the minutes who are earning them. I think on a night-to-night basis, Borrego's job has been to put guys on the court who have been playing the best and to put the lineups on the court that have been playing the best. So I think when you look at overall, what do you want from James Borrego to do? And I think overall what Borrego has proven is that he deserves the opportunity at this stage to see this thing through and into next season, because the goals long-term of the franchise, you're not winning a championship this year, next year. So the things that you need to establish with Borrego and the things that you need to establish like in games like tonight is who's going to be those core 8 to 9 guys who we are really focused on the rest of this season. And if there are players on this roster who are not part of the long-term future, if you're still trying to figure that out at this stage, if you're still trying to figure out who's part of the long-term future of the franchise, then you got a problem. Because if there's something that somebody can do physically, and I think that's the biggest part of this, is it's about, can somebody convince you that they're going to remain healthy? Because we said before the season began, the season was all about Zion Williamson. And so when you look at this game, and in the second half, the Pelicans came out first half, no energy, right? No real energy, no real effort on the glass, no real effort in transition. Nobody's playing particularly well. But in the second half, you get great effort from a few guys. You get very strong minutes from Yves Missi, who has not been getting as consistent minutes in the recent past. But tonight he comes in, he gets the opportunity. Yves Missi does a fantastic job in defending, in following up, and getting some second chance opportunities off the glass, in making himself available. But you saw a lot of inconsistency overall. For the minutes that Carlo Makovic got, gives you 3 points, gave you 3 rebounds, gave you energy. About 8 minutes is what you expect to get from Carlo on a night-to-night basis. But the impact overall wasn't on the bench tonight. Let me see. Hold on. I want to see this. Hold on. What's this one? We're trying to build for the future. The moment of Jose or Poole play dumb, I see no reason to not play Fears. And why on earth is James benching me? See, it's dumb. So that's my question. When the 3 guys that you drafted played a grand total of 38 minutes tonight, 19 for Queen, 16 for Fears, and 3 for PV. What are we doing? Because I think you can get to the 10th spot without sacrificing the development of the young players. And I think it would be a mistake ultimately to get extended minutes from these veterans who are not going to be on this team long term. But in this game in particular, again, you look at where the game fell apart. And in the third quarter, the Pelicans were able to put some points together because they got back out in transition. And then in the fourth quarter, it turned around because the game slowed down again. And you saw what Antonio Daniels was talking about consistently tonight on the broadcast was that the Pelicans were caught in that situation where they were bringing the ball up and you were starting the offense with 15, 14 seconds on the shot clock. Shout out to Cajun Curveball. I've seen 8th grade teams shoot better free throw percentages. The free throws were terrible. But the little things were terrible. And you see what's been consistent about this team in transition, right? Points off of turnovers, whether it's been stopping them or whether it's been generating them. And that doesn't make a lot of sense for this team, considering how quick they are in transition and the kinds of guys that they have to finish. But what happens is whenever they still get into half court, when you don't have somebody who can create for others, and none of these guys are natural creators for others besides Queen. And a lot of Queen's creation comes from standing still at the top of the key. So if the ball isn't moving, if other guys aren't moving, you don't have that person who can drive to the bucket and create for other people. Jose's not capable of doing that because of his size. He struggles when he gets inside to create for other people. So who's doing it? Jordan Poole makes poor decisions at times. Didn't have a lot of turnovers tonight, but didn't make a lot of great decisions either. So who's going to do it? Trey doesn't do that. That's not his forte, creating for other folks. This has remained a problem for the Pelicans for years. Decision-making with the basketball. And if Zion Williamson is now being more of a scorer, he did have 6 assists tonight. Those 6 assists are the most that he's had since October. He had not had a game more than 5 assists since October. So that was really encouraging to see because you had been seeing a lot more 3-assist games for Zion. So for him to get more assists off the bench, good. And I think that the thing that's good about seeing Zion Williamson come off the bench is this. Number one, for him, it's not about starting, it's about finishing. So you're going to see him on the court in the fourth quarter no matter what. If he's playing 28 minutes right now, again, because of his future being in limbo, it doesn't make sense to play him 36 minutes. But to play him 28 minutes makes sense. He's playing against second units to start. He's playing against starters to close. So he's fresh and ready to go. But that second unit, the problem with that second unit is the basketball IQ of the second unit should be high because these are more veterans, right? It's Jose, it's Zion, it's Jordan Poole. These are supposed to be your vets in that second unit. And what happens is they're coming in and they're not good defensively. They're not good defensively. So you put those guys all together, it's almost impossible to start Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Fears together because their defensive numbers are just horrible together. You're not taking Jeremiah Fears out of the starting lineup. But once you put Poole in as the primary ball handler, our decision making becomes much more problematic. It's harder to get the ball to Zion in those cases. So, what do you do when all these people's motivations are different? This team. See, we're not gonna do this. Look, team can't win a game without Poole playing stops and coding. All right, let's just be honest, okay? We gotta stop with this bullshit, okay? Since he came back, Jordan Poole, well, since the start of November, since November 2nd, Jordan Poole has been shooting 22% from three since November 2nd. Okay. Tonight he was 2 of 11, 2 of 10 from three, and 4 for 17 from the floor. He missed half his free throws. Like, you can like him all you want. That's fine. But you're not gonna stand here and tell me that he's playing well when he's not playing well. The fact of the matter is he's not playing well. He's playing poorly. He played poorly in the preseason. He played poorly before he got hurt. He's been playing poorly since he came back from being hurt. So let's just be real here. Okay, like he has not been a consistent positive at any point during this season. Is that all his fault? That's not what we're talking about here. That's not what we're trying to assign to. But you're on the court, and the only thing we can judge you by is your performance on the court. And his performance on the court has not been good. He's not the only player on this team that's not lived up to what they're supposed to be this season, but he has not. That's just simple. They can't win a game without him. Jesus. They can't win. They've got 8 wins. They got plenty of losses with him too. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, like, there's no one player. I don't want to say one player cost anybody the game. There's no one moment that costs anybody the game. But if we're looking at this game, the last 5 minutes where you have an opportunity and the Pelicans have been better in crunch time. If we're just going to talk about this game, nobody had a worse last 5 minutes than Jordan Poole. When he was given the opportunity, he had the ball in his hands down the stretch. He missed a three. He turned it over. He played bad defense in the sequence that went from a 2-point game to a 7-point game. He was in the middle of it. So tonight, in the last 5 minutes, no player was more detrimental to the Pelicans than Jordan Poole. In the last 5 minutes. All right, so let's just be cool on that. For Derek Queen, you have to be aggressive every night. And the thing that's always been the concern for Derek Queen is, where's his motor going to be? Right? The thing with Derek Queen, your question is always, where's your motor going to be? Tonight, it wasn't there. Tonight wasn't the Derek Queen that we wanted to see, especially in a night where against a front court for the Suns that isn't particularly great. This was a night that Derek Queen should have had a better performance. This is one of those games where Derek Queen should have had 20. Okay, Mark Williams is not a guy with a sophisticated set of moves in the post. Mark Williams is going to be physical. Mark Williams is going to be active, and you better be ready to play. But this is not a guy who's going to be coming at you with a lot of moves. This is not Akeem Olajuwon. So Derek Queen, this is a night where you needed to be aggressive in attacking right there. The same thing if you're talking about Jeremiah Fears tonight. Early on, first couple of possessions, it looked like Fears was in tempo, pushing the basketball. think again when they get him into this situation for him, where he starts thinking too much of a passer. I don't want Jeremiah Fears to think pass first because I don't think that's his forte. His passing comes from his scoring. And this is the problem by not having a backcourt mate who can either defend or handle the basketball. So tonight, Jeremiah Fears didn't look like he was sure of what he wanted to be tonight. Did he want to be a scorer? Did he want to be a distributor? What did he want to do? What was his role going to be tonight? He didn't look certain at all tonight. Trey Murphy tonight, because the Pelicans didn't get in transition, this was a game where Trey was not particularly effective. He didn't create opportunities for himself, and the Pelicans didn't do a good job of moving the basketball and getting anything for him to get some good looks either. But Trey's got to do better. The last 3 games in a row, defense has been able to decide how to keep Trey from getting shots beyond the arc. And then on top of that, they've been able to limit him in transition. So the Pelicans have to find ways to continue to get him shots. And part of that depends on what Queen and Fears are doing, because those 3 as a group are at their best together. And then again, what did tonight point out? The value of Herb Jones. Michael Peavy's not ready to take on that role yet. So when you have a team that doesn't defend and you have one really good defender and a guy who had been making his shots lately too, you miss Herb Jones. So I think that what the Pelicans have, the same problems, the things that you saw tonight, the things that you lose. I'm not reflecting anything for Trey Murphy. I still think Trey Murphy can be an all-star type player. But he didn't play like an all-star. He hasn't played like one the last few games. They did not have good energy tonight. No one on the team tonight played with strong energy. Except for maybe Jose. Jose took some good shots. He took some big shots. He played better than he had in a couple of games. Jose was on tonight. And I think that, it wasn't as much Booker as you're going to stop. I mean, but this is the thing. Yeah, Booker's had these games against the Pelicans consistently, right? Booker's had these games night in and night out against the Pelicans. But, I don't think that tonight Booker was particularly on to where you felt like, Booker was going to be that kind of difference maker. I thought Booker played a good game, not a great game. This wasn't one of those games where you looked at Booker and thought that he was going to be a dominant performer. This was a game where Booker played okay basketball. The Suns played as a group okay basketball, but the Pelicans were so poor overall in most of their situations this evening. Like we said, consistently, the inability to score in transition, the inability to make threes, which has been a problem this entire season, the inability to do what you need to do in close situations. This looked like the Pelicans we saw in the first 10 to 12 games of the season. That was the problem tonight. All of the things that you thought you had gained from the Pelicans were not there. What's happening, Five? Welcome.
What's up, Grub, man?
How you
I'm doing all right, man. I just wanted to pop on and say what's up, bro. Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good one, man. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, I was in attendance tonight. It was different. It's not different, more so like I thought the fans, like the atmosphere was there, ready for the Pelicans to kind of do what they've done in the last year, so let's say 5 games, and we'll say 6 games because we wouldn't really say the last one, and get over the hump, right? And it just never felt like they could just grab control of the game and get over that hump and get past it. I know a lot of it, probably most people will say like the free throws, but missing 15 free throws in a game, 10 before the fourth quarter really hurts you a lot. And the ugly things that, again, like I think what you just alluded to, the ugly things that they couldn't just get past right? Like couldn't get over with what they've done in the, let's say the last 10, 11 game, but this is like the initial Pelicans of the season just continue to happen, right? Like just the sloppy play, the ill-advised shots, the complaining to the refs, the bad decision making. It's just a bunch of that in the building tonight. And I was like, all right, well, is this who the Pelicans are, or what the Pelicans showed us the last 6 games? Is that who they are? We kind of have to figure that out for them.
Now, let me ask you this, because this is the part that I've been struggling with is you want to win every game you play. That's what you want your players to do. But you also have an understanding that this season is not the season anymore. You went into it thinking this could be the season. That's what Joe do. We're going to be competitive. We're going to be a legitimate playoff contender. Now you're hoping it's still reasonable. It's reasonable that you could get hot enough to get to 10 because the pace right now is 33 wins will get you into the 10th spot. The Pelicans could get to 33 wins. I see a reasonable path there. But when you see the young players play 19 for Queen tonight, 16 for Fears, 3 for Peavy, what do you do when you're James Borrego and you have a balance of, I'm the interim coach, my job is to prove that I deserve a head coaching job long term, whether it's here or somewhere else, but also I have a responsibility to these young players to get them ready for their long term.
It's a hard balance, but you do need to balance it, right? Like, I think Fears, I think Queen enough, what I'm saying, like this kid can play 19 minutes and still be productive in said 19 minutes. Fears is the opposite. Like he needs a ton of minutes to get better because just the guard position itself is such a difficult position to grasp in the NBA, right? Like he's behind the curve. I'm not gonna say behind the curve, but he's not up to speed for a NBA guard or an NBA lead guard. There's certain things he does on a basketball court, like athletically, he's great, but mentally, I think he should be making. I like the ill-advised shots, like not understanding pace, like rhythm of getting others involved. It's the bad defense, not understanding like who to block out, what the rotation is, like things he shouldn't be doing still is what I'm having an issue with. It's like the reoccurring problems for him. And that's why he almost needs to be benched to show like this is why you're not playing in these critical moments because you are doing things that is hurting the team. So that's the balance. PV, I think he's just kind of thrown in there. Like maybe he gets the minutes, but there's no, benchmark for James to like play PV, right? Like, I need to probably play these guys more than I need to play him. But the kid can play. I'm not saying he's not an NBA player, but he is lower on the need totem pole per se.
Zion, this bench role is very interesting to me because if you put Zion back in the starting lineup, what are you saying overall for the future of the franchise? Are you saying to Zion, we still believe that you're the guy, that you could be the guy? Or with this bench role, as long as he's closing, we always say it's not about who starts, it's about who closes. He's getting these opportunities early on against second units where he can get a lot of damage done offensively, and then he's available there to score and be fresh in the fourth quarter. Again, you're trying to balance these short-term goals of winning every night with the long-term reality of maybe Zion is not going to be here.
What do you do? It's really how you see it, right? Like, how do you gauge this franchise and like how do you see the future of it? When you look at the Spurs and like what they do with Wemby, right? Like he comes off the bench. He's come off the bench since he's returned from injury. They've won a lot of games. They've beat OKC to oblivion. Like it's beneficial if you can work it, right? Like there are some benefits of having your star player come in at with the second unit and killing second units. Like that's what should happen, right? That's what you would want to happen. The Pelicans per se, like I don't think they give Zion the ball enough. Or let me not say this. I don't think Zion goes and gets the ball enough. There's too many times where he's like going baseline to baseline. Like that's not that's not winning basketball for me, to be honest. Like, you're not putting your best player in enough action to be beneficial for your team to have success. Like, put him at the elbow, have people run off screens. He needs to screen more and understand, you know, position of when he's going to get the basketball and when he can get to the rim. And for please learn how to use your right hand. Like, these simple things can really elevate this team just a notch and elevate this game just a notch for them to be successful. But it just always comes back to the same thing. Like, what is the goal here? What do you foresee for this team, and how do they see themselves, not only at the end of this season, but next season and 3 years after that?
To me, if you're going to have Zion in the game down the stretch with Poole and that having a ball and Fears off the floor, then Zion has to be the one who initiates. That the offense has to start with the ball in his hands. And then at the end of the shot clock, when you get to those final 7 or 8 seconds and you need somebody to break down and get their own shot, then the ball needs to find its way back to Poole. But with Poole starting with the ball in his hands, he's not initially looking for movement. He's not looking to get downhill per se. He's doing his thing. And that is just not beneficial for late game execution. And it wasn't tonight.
I'm sorry, not the Fears. I'm sorry. The Poole thing is interesting, right? Like, I always thought, like, you're going to have these ebbs and flows with Jordan Poole, right? Like, he's going to have some really good games. He's going to really bad games. I don't know if anybody recalls, there was this time where I was shooting a basketball at a Pels game, like pregame from like side of the court. And I think I airballed or some shit. Jordan Poole passed me that ball that same game. I think he was like 1 for 10 for Golden State. He was like 1 for 10 from the field. And I was like he shot them out of the game. Like, that's Jordan Poole. Like, that can't happen. And I understood that with bringing Jordan Poole in. Like, I don't think most people, they probably just saw the numbers over a course of time. Like, no, there's some really good basketball games and there's some really poor basketball games from him. But that's just who he is. And you have to allow him to be that. I know what that is. I know what that looks like. I don't mind it per se. But when you're talking about for a team to like have a more sort of like a learning thing, that's not the best for your team, because you can't depend on that night in, night out. There was some bad shots. Usually he takes bad shots. Even the shots he makes are sometimes bad shots. Like, what are you going to do about that in the late game situation, right? Like, you have a guy that's trying to find his shot rather than get the best shot on the floor. And that's an issue. I think his team's identity needs to be at all times get the best shot possible. And I don't think they do enough of that or understand like what the advantage is. Or I think they need a come to Jesus moment, or more so like see themselves like what you really are in the NBA currently. Not what you project to be, but what you currently are. And once you understand that, like, then you can play a game of basketball in which, like, what is our advantage every rip down the court? Is it Zion? Is it a three? Is it space? Is it passing? Like, what is it? And if they could do that every rip and value the basketball, you'd have a different result. But until they do that, we'll see a lot of this.
Why can they not score in transition?
Bro,
like, I don't understand this. When you get it's been all year with this, and it was last year too. The inability to turn turnovers into points. And it is just, those are for a team that needs easy baskets, for a team that doesn't make threes. You cannot afford to give away this many opportunities.
It's like they get more nervous when it's the easy things than it's the hard things. Pause. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, you nervous about making a layup? Like, it's a 4-on-1 break and y'all gonna fumble the rock out of bounds, throw a bad pass. Like, I was so impressed by Jeremiah Fears when he, like, I think there was like a 3-on-1 break. Like, Jose ran to the corner. He's like, nah, I'm shooting the layup. Yes, shoot the layup. Let's just get the layup. Because until we get the layups and then we can start kicking out for threes, let's just focus on 2-on-1 breaks. They just need to have a basketball practice where it's just 3-man weaves. You know what I mean? Like transition basketball where you're just making the easy plays, getting the layups, you know, have the defense trying to get steals, but 2-on-1 fast break practices, like that's kind of what it is. We gotta need to figure out so that way you're accustomed to knowing what to do or what the defense is trying to do, get you to throw a bad pass or get you to knock the ball out. Like they just don't do enough of that, in my opinion.
And I thought tonight, Queen just wasn't as aggressive, especially attacking somebody like a Mark Williams, somebody who you have to have an offensive win over. You've got to outscore Mark Williams, and to be doubled up by that guy tonight. Not to say Mark Williams don't work. That dude is going to work, but he can't give you more than 14. For Derek Queen to only give you 7, that's a big disappointment tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if he had a bad Christmas or something, but nah, like this just wasn't. I just expected more, and I don't know, and I'm sure he'll have a good showing tomorrow night. But I thought he'd be ready for this one, just because they needed him. I think this was a game that he could have definitely had a big night, and I guess he just wasn't ready.
Yeah, because this is not a team that has a great front court, and they don't have a lot of height, and they don't have a lot of depth in that front court. So this felt like, this is an opportunity for him to go off. Tomorrow he's going to have to, I think, because I'm betting. My feeling is that Grayson Allen is going to be back tomorrow. That they let him rest, tonight. He had rested last 2 games now, and this was management. That's what he was listed as. I think Grayson Allen comes back, and that means more shots. So Queen has to be available and have a big game tomorrow.
Grub, I'm going to ask you a question this time. The Pelicans, offensively, it seems like their scheme is like we have to, one, beat you in the paint, right? Because we can't shoot. We know we can't shoot. So when you go against teams like, the Suns, which they want to shoot, they have a lot of space. They want to create a lot of space. They do a good job of passing the ball. Like either, the pick and roll, say you double book, they're going to get it to the middle of the floor, and then their swing is all over the place. How does a team, when you talk about really the Pelicans, how should the Pelicans scheme against, a team like this where you can't shoot?
They can't play slow either. Like that's the dilemma for the Pelicans, is like you also cannot afford to play slow, because when you're not going to execute in the half court that kind of way over on a nightly basis against a team like this. So to me, it feels like I think they have to work without Herb. You have to work more on denying Book rather than getting it out of his hands once he gets it, because he's going to get to the line when you pressure him. And it seems to me that the Pelicans, it's usually the other guy more so than Book. Like in these games, it was Grayson Allen the other night, in that earlier game, and then tonight is other guys able to knock down shots. It's if Book is, even in those games where Book was scoring 50, those were close games.
Yeah.
Those were games, and this was a close game again tonight. To me, it's not Book's point so much as what he does for other folks. And to me, they don't stay home enough. It wasn't the first pass, like you said. It's the pass out to the corner where you had Dylan Brooks wide open in the corner 4 times. You had shooters open in the corners multiple times. That's the bigger problem to me than dealing just with Booker. And so to me is like, but that's been a problem for the Pelicans consistently too, is staying at home on shooters. So that discipline of particularly the guards, it's worse with the guards than it is with anybody else on this team. But staying home on these shooters, they got to do it. And I don't understand why they don't, like just coming off of screens. You saw it again tonight, just coming off of screens and allowing guys to have 8-9 feet of space between them and the defender. When you know that they're shooting 43s, that's part of their game plan is to get up 43s. So everything at the 3-point line, no matter who's there, for a team like the Suns, you have to contest.
I mean, I always talk about like, scouting reports and kind of how you look at it, right? For a team, that wants to shoot a ton, I wouldn't I wouldn't go under anything, right? Like unless like the guy just couldn't shoot, right? Like if it's one of the bigs or something like that. But guard play, like I'm not going under at all. But you'll see at times like they're confused about who to go under screens on and who to go over screens on. That's the part that gets me. Like if a guy makes a shot, he makes a shot. But were you doing the correct, schematic thing to prevent that? And to see it like night in, night out, I'm like, are we on the same page here? Do we know we're supposed to go over the screen on this person or whoever it might be? Like that's the thing that aggravates me the most. Like we're not even paying attention to who's playing the game, because that's the game within the game. That's the true, that determines wins and losses more than anything. It's just scouting.
It's you can see Borrego at times. He knows he's dealing with that there are some issues he cannot fix, and I think his job initially was the easiest things that he could find. Was start paying attention to detail to give you somewhat. The thing that I said all the time was that Willie Green gave you no competitive advantage in any area. Well, at least with Borrego, it feels like you come out, there is a game plan. There is a counter move when the opponent does something. There is a purpose in everything that's being done. You've talked about it. Y'all have talked about it plenty, about just the purpose that this team plays with. You don't have to hear the word force as much, you know what I'm saying, about this team on a night-to-night basis, because they're playing with purpose and focus. So, the force is coming naturally just from knowing what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, they are who they are. You know what I mean? Like the limitations of this roster from day one are still the limitations today.
Yeah. You started talking about, purpose and focus, and I just think about Jose Alvarado. I just want to speak to. I thought he was like pound for pound, I think he's like the best energy guy in the league. That's just my opinion. There's no stat, there's no to back that up. But when you watch a game, you're like, all right, like this is the moment where this could like make or break you. And for some reason, he's always in the middle of it. Always. For some reason, could always make a play to swing a game. And it's, I think, a skill. You just don't, you don't just see 5'10" guys that can do this. You know what I mean? Like just change a game. I've seen him win games by himself. And this goes back to Georgia State. I mean, sorry, yes, that's Georgia State.
Georgia Tech.
Like,
yeah.
Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia Tech. God. Like this is a guy that can really change a game. And I'm like, man, like tonight witnessing it, my daughter, I think she like looked at me and she was like, who is that? I'm like, she's like 5. Like, who is that? Like, yeah, she can sense like someone's having a good game. And I was truly impressed by like how he knows like when to take a game over.
Yeah, I think that there was one thing that was really subtle that Jose did that doesn't show up at all. And there was a box out.
Yes.
That he had late in the fourth quarter. He didn't even get the rebound.
Nah,
but
the ball hit
he
the
had
ground.
The box out that allowed the rebound to happen. Just because, like, and those types of things, those are things the Pelicans don't do well. Like, just guys boxing out their guy, even if they can't get the rebound. And other teams do that really well to the Pelicans. Yeah. Like, that 3 guys able to rebound. The Pelicans struggle with that. But like you said, tonight, during that run, when they were able to make that run early on in the fourth quarter, that they retook the lead and everything, and Jose, like you said, was right in the middle of it. He had his own 7-point spurt, where he scored a 3 and a couple of 2s and cutting off the ball, still doing that kind of stuff. Again, Jose is never going to be a great passer because of his size. He's never going to be a great finisher because of his size. But like you said, he turns the game because whatever he's got, if you get that man 5 minutes, he going to burn for those 5 minutes. If you give him 25, he going to burn for 25. And I think that tonight on a night where they came out and had no energy to start, this team had no energy to start. For Jose to do what he did to get them back in position, he was the best player on the floor tonight for the Pelicans. Zion had the better numbers, but as far as impact and just changing the game, Jose was the guy tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of guys that probably didn't perform as well, it's Trey Murphy. I don't know if like Dylan
It's
Brooks
3
got in
games
his
now.
head. Yeah, I don't know if Dylan
It's
Brooks
3
got in
games
his
for Trey.
head. It's I truly think, if he had to rethink his summer, and I know he was coming off a little injury. I mean, not a little injury. He was coming off injury. But I truly believe like he should probably focus on like strengthening his hips. He should not, for as athletic as he is, he gets blew by so easily. Like, no, man. Like, you gotta at least make him do 2 moves. Like, it can't be just one dribble and he's gone.
Yeah. Trey's like if he were a DB, you'd be talking about his inability to open up his hips, and he'd 9 routes all day because he gets caught off that. He's flat-footed. He's flat-footed in those situations, which is strange. Again, this is a kid who went to Virginia to learn how to play defense, and as you said, has all the athletic tools to be a good defender. But it seems he has heavy feet defensively when he's playing in front of somebody.
And for someone so smart, he does some idiotic stuff on defense. Like he's late on rotations, he's out of positions, he don't box out. I'm like, hey, you gotta do something. Like it can't be all athleticism. Like it can't be all that. But we know you have the ability because you are athletic. So what's the how do you change that? And that's the frustrating part for sure for me.
And he's got to work on his ability to separate physically when defenders are reaching for him, because he can't be playing these games where he's getting 3 or less 3-point attempts because people are able to push him around. And that's a big part of this. Cleveland was able to do it.
Yeah.
And Cleveland doesn't have particularly big guys on the wing, but they were able to push him off of his spot. Dylan Brooks pushed him off his spot tonight. He has to, for this team. If Trey's not shooting at least 7 threes every night, then that's a failure because you only have one other volume 3-point shooter on this entire roster. Trey has to get 7 threes up every night. And tonight he got up 2. That can't happen.
Does it feel like he needs a lot of space? Like,
Yes.
Doesn't it feel like for someone
Yes.
that's 6'10", he seems like he needs a lot of space to get his shot off?
You feel comfortable taking his shot. It's not a slow shot, but for him to feel comfortable, he needs space. And that is strange. And you never see Trey in the corner.
You know what's wild? Like, that's why I don't know who his trainer is. I'm not trying. I don't know you, so I can't. This is not a shot at you. But Trey should really fire his trainer. You should, you got to, or like move on from him, because you should not need this much space to shoot. It should get to a point where if they give you a glimpse of light, the shot's going up. And to be honest, I don't care if you make it. I need you to get shots up. You're the most prolific shooter the Pelicans have. Like, Jordan Poole should not be out shooting you. And if you need to dribble to get your shot off, learn a move or two. But if you catch the rock and there's a glimpse of light and you're near the 3-point line, shoot the rock. None of this, because your dribble ain't there. And this is coming from somebody that likes you.
You've got to be more Klay Thompson-like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's got to be more Thompson, Middleton type play. It's like you said, catch it and let it go. But it's also, you got to get to these spots. It can't be 9 feet behind the line at the top of the key. You got to get those easy ones in the corner. And 3 or 4 of those a night got to come from those corners. Every night. Klay Thompson lived in those spots. Chris Middleton lived in that spot, playing opposite his guy. And Derek Queen and Trey have to find that kind of rhythm to where, we saw it tonight. Queen threw an incredible pass into the corner for, I think it was Sadiq Bey took the shot.
Yeah.
Those, they got to find those for Trey too. And Trey's got to find those for himself. He has to be able to work off screens. And like you said, just catch it and let it go. Those have to happen more often for him. So if he wants to be elite, he can be a 20-point per game scorer doing what he does. Fine. But if you want to be elite and not have games like this or 3 games in a row like this, then yeah, you got to do some things that are just a little bit different. You can't just be catching lobs and coming through the lane and finishing. He's got to vary his game up.
Yeah, the first step needs to get faster, and I think that's where the hip improvement would help, right? Because he just can't push off that fast right now. It's just not there. He doesn't blow by defenders. A lot of hand checking gets him the slowest momentum. I was just hoping to see a different Trey, to be honest.
Does it look like when he's handling the basketball that he's too far over? You know what I'm saying? Does it seem, because it feels like he's making himself too small so that when he comes up, there's a lot of slowness to him getting it up above his shoulders to take the shot. Because it just feels like for Trey, he does not keep his momentum up to change speeds really quickly with his dribble. It seems like he gets real low with it. And then when he changes directions, he doesn't have that quick kind of lift with it.
So he doesn't have good balance with his dribble, right?
Yeah.
Like you actually want to sit on your dribble rather than lean on your dribble, because if you lean too forward, you're getting out of, your foundation. Like if he's more, with his hips under him rather than him leaning forward, it's your body shifting back and then standing up, and now you're back. And for NBA guys, there's enough time to get back and guard your shot. So, but again, I'm no NBA trainer. This is just some things that I kind of know. He just has to be better at it. I think he is too far front, but honestly, I don't think he needs the dribbling package that they tried to assign to him. Right? I think he needs to simplify that. It needs to be very, very simple. Something you can get by people with a economical is what I'll call it, dribble. Like you don't need a tween cross. You don't need all that. You don't. Like your shot's good enough that when you already have the defenders beat, you don't need anything else. Just get by them if you want to get by.
Fake. It should be pump fake, one dribble, done.
Yeah.
It's one thing or the other. One dribble to the bucket, one dribble to pull up. That's it.
Yeah.
Because that should be able to create enough space right there. The pump fake alone should be able to create enough space to get into a comfortable shooting position. Like I say, everything seems a half beat slow at times with Trey. It's just a half beat slow, and it allows the defense to close and make things more difficult for him. Because he's not getting the free throw line either right now.
Yeah.
And last year he did such a much better job of getting the line consistent. We were seeing 5, 6, 7 free throw attempts. We're not seeing that anymore for Trey. So it's just all those things, those subtle things that take you from 20 points to 24 points to 26 points a night. He's got to figure those things out to get next level. But it just feels like with this team, you have a bunch of B guys. Because even Zion, because of his lack of availability, no longer makes him an A1 talent. He is that, but his availability in these things. So you've got a team because of either age with these rookies that they're not ready to assume this mantle and won't be for another year or two. Or you've got guys who just talent-wise and skill-wise. Trey is not a number one guy. He could be an all-star, but it would be a supplemental all-star. You'd be one of those kind of all-stars, an AC Green type all-star, a Horace Grant type all-star. And that's fine. That's fine. Every team needs them. Yeah. A Brandon Ingram type. But what you don't have anywhere on this team, and you have some guys who are getting paid $30+ million, you don't have anybody who can raise your ceiling currently. You have some guys who can make your floor better. And sure, but you're still, at your best, you're still chasing 8, 9, 10 in the West at your best.
Can you be successful with a bunch of B guys?
No.
And what do you? I mean, we say success. I mean, like
not in this league.
I'm not saying like
look at this West. You got 4 teams in the West that are just. I mean, you could be good. You could be. I mean, those Memphis teams were a bunch of B guys, right?
Yeah.
Those,
even this like version of the NBA.
You could argue that you could.
Yeah. See, I look at
no, because I mean, even like you look at a team like Detroit, Cade's a guy who's an All NBA guy. Everybody's got at least one. You got to have a top 15 player if you want to, be a legitimate team in this league currently.
Yeah.
And you don't have one. That's the part where I think that makes it the most difficult thing when you're talking about the future of this franchise, is that to me, no matter what you're doing the rest of this season, you cannot keep expensive guys. Because what's the point? Even if Jordan Poole were playing great basketball right now, if he was scoring 25 points a game, and your record is 8-24, there's nothing that he can do to justify his salary for you. DeJounte Murray comes back. Let's see, he gives you 18-8. You finish with 33 wins. No matter what he does, his value is not worth it to you. Zion Williamson at this point, he can give you 25, 6, and 6 the rest of the year. You're still going to finish with 35 wins. His value is no longer $40 million to you. And that's the part that I when I look at this franchise, is you have some young players who are 2-3 years down the road, maybe you can do something if you build this right. If Joe Dumars makes the correct decisions and builds an organization around these kids and does the right things, sure, you could be a winner. But you can't do it if you think you can rehab these 3 guys and you buy into it one more time, that, hey, if we're healthy next year, and it feels like the Pelicans are trying to set that up, that same bait and switch that we've gotten from this organization before, that look, Zion's a little healthy, DeJounte's back, Poole is okay. Let's run it back one more time and see what we can do.
Damn it, Grub. I was hoping we wouldn't get to that part, but yeah, I hope not. I just really want to see good basketball, and then I'll be able to like make my decisions from there. It's hard to, continue to try to see the good and bad. Like, I just want good so I can like tweak good to be better. And we'll never get to that point if we continue to double down on the same thing every time. But look, man, I got to get back to the kids. I just want to hop on and chop it up with you, man. Good seeing you, bro. Hope all as well.
Appreciate
Chat. Y'all be cool. See y'all later.
All right. All right, y'all. With 5 dipping out, I think we've done a lot. We've been for over an hour now, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Got the back-to-backs tomorrow. So I think the thing that you learned tonight is, again, the Pelicans are a flawed team that we know, a team that's talented in a lot of ways, and a team that has holes that it needs to fix. The question is, who are they going to make the long-term commitments to? Who are they going to make the long-term commitments to? Is it going to be to this young team, or is it going to be to some of these vets and hoping that they can turn it around? All right, y'all. Like I said, check back with me tomorrow after the game. Let's check through this. Let's give all the shout outs first real quick. Dave's Australia cards. Big love to you from Australia. I appreciate that. Cage a Curveball. We got him. Yeah, the free throw percentage is, again, just awful. Cage a Curveball hit us up 2 times. Can't pass the ball for squat. Yeah, the assists have been a problem all season. As we know, this team doesn't have enough playmakers on the perimeter to really create for people. And again, without Herb Jones kind of being a connector, you're down another player who can help the ball move as well. Poole keeps trying to flop. Yeah, he did try that a few times, and he has been a poor defender for the team all season long. That has not been something that we can question. And again, Pelicans got to be better defensively. It's just not been good this season. I think they can win tomorrow. You saw this game was close. It's just, can you take advantage of the opportunities you're given? Pelicans were given a lot of opportunities they did not capitalize on tonight. we'll see if they can do that tomorrow. Until then, I'm David Grubb. This has been, Boot Cruise coverage of the New Orleans Pelicans. Pro Pels Talk will be back again tomorrow. Y'all have a good one.
What's up, everybody? This is Ross from Pro Pels Talk. Just wanted to tell you about a little deal from the Game Time app. You can get $20 off your first purchase using our promo code PELS. The app's incredible. I've been using it a bunch. All the fees are included. You get great deals on seats, last-minute deals. You get a view of your seat. It's I think, the best last-minute ticketing app there is out there. So use our promo code PELS to get $20 off your first purchase, and go Pels.